In a colorful town called Brightsville, everyone seemed happy and successful. The streets were lined with cheerful houses and beautiful flowers. The sun brightened the days, and the warm air embraced everyone. But behind this bright world, there was a hidden story. The world of social media was filled with bright colors and perfect lives. Everyone shared their best moments online. But this shiny world often made people feel lonely and anxious. It created a strange path where people felt they needed to show their best selves all the time. In the heart of Brightsville lived a young woman named Naomi. She was often praised for her talents. Naomi had a good job and made beautiful art that everyone admired. She smiled and laughed with friends during the day. People thought she was strong and confident. But inside, Naomi felt different. Every morning, she would wake up early and check her phone. Was there a new message? Did someone like her recent photos? She hoped for something nice to read. Each like made her feel happy, but it was a quick happiness that went away fast. Naomi went to work, carrying a big smile. She answered calls and met people all day. However, when she returned home in the evening, a heavy feeling followed her. Once she was in her room, the loud noise of the world faded away. Naomi sat on her bed, staring at her phone. Numbers showed how many people followed her, how many liked her posts, and how many commented on her art. But these numbers meant more than just simple counting to her. They felt like thumbs pressing down on her heart. During those quiet moments, Naomi often overwhelmed by her thoughts. She felt anxious about not being good enough. What if next time no one comments? What if they forget me? These questions slipped into her mind like shadows. Naomi wished she could escape these feelings but felt trapped. The more she checked her phone, the more her worries grew. She believed that her worth depended on how others saw her online. Every night, Naomi made her posts look perfect. She carefully chose filters and words to match the shiny world of social media. Blue skies and smiling faces surrounded her, but deep down, she felt exhausted. She wanted to scream, "Please see who I am!" But instead, she remained silent. The need for external approval made her tired. She wanted to be free from this loud pressure, but she didn't know how. In those moments of quiet despair, Naomi became more aware of her feelings. She recognized her anxiety but had not yet found a way to change it. Instead, she kept searching for validation online. Each night, Naomi wondered what life would be like if she let go of her need for approval. Would she finally feel happy and free? Would she find a way to connect with herself, rather than needing the world to see her? The bright town of Brightsville looked joyful on the outside. But Naomi knew the truth below the surface. She was about to begin a journey of change, one that would guide her from the bright hustle to the deeper understanding of herself. Little did she know that her adventure was just beginning. As the days went by, Naomi felt the weight on her shoulders growing heavier. Each like on her post came with a deeper sense of anxiety. She began to worry more about her art. Would people still admire her work? What if her next piece failed? Around her, the laughter of friends faded as her mind became a busy storm of doubt. One day, after posting her latest artwork, a negative comment slipped into her notifications. "This is boring. You can do better." The words hit her like a sharp knife. Naomi sat down in her chair, her heart racing and her mind spinning. Tears blurred her vision as she read the comment again and again. The happiness she hoped for vanished in that moment. The pressure to create perfect art suddenly felt impossible. She thought, maybe they are right. Maybe I am not good enough. Overwhelmed by emotion, Naomi felt as if she couldn't breathe. She grabbed her phone and, in a moment of frustration, deleted her post. But instead of relief, she felt more sadness. Some friends noticed her silence and reached out, but Naomi struggled to share her feelings. She felt trapped in a cloud of disappointment and failure. The next morning, she decided to skip work. Staying in bed seemed easier than facing the world outside. In those quiet hours, Naomi began to think about her struggles. It dawned on her that this was a turning point. She realized that she could not keep ignoring her emotions. The negative comments and constant pressure to perform were too much. They were like a heavy fog, making it hard to see the good things in her life. Naomi understood she needed help, and that thought sparked a tiny light of hope inside her heart. That afternoon, she took a deep breath and opened her laptop. She searched for articles about stress and self-care. She read stories of others who felt just like her. Slowly, she learned important ways to feel better. She discovered breathing exercises to use in tough moments. She learned the importance of talking about her feelings. The guide said that finding joy in art again meant starting with small things, like coloring or doodling without fear. Naomi felt eager to try these new ideas. The next morning, she picked up her paintbrush again. This time, she did not care about likes or comments. She focused on the colors and shapes, letting her heart guide her hand. As she painted, she began to feel stronger. Each stroke brought a new wave of peace. It was okay not to be perfect. Learning to express herself without stress felt like a victory. Days passed, and Naomi continued to explore ways to find inner calm. She visited a small garden nearby, inviting the scent of blooming flowers into her heart. Nature helped clear her mind. During her walks, she began to notice the beauty in little things: the soft rustle of leaves, the laughter of a child, the warmth of the sun on her skin. Every moment became a small chance to heal. Each exploration filled Naomi with hope. She started to share her feelings with the close friends who cared for her. They listened and supported her. Slowly, she felt as if the fog was lifting. As Naomi reached out for help and began to heal, she found a new sense of trust in herself. The journey ahead felt promising, and she was ready to embrace it with open arms, step by step. Naomi took a big step forward, but the path was still rocky. Even as she painted and found joy in small things, feelings of confusion returned. Many times she sat on her bed, staring at the wall, feeling lost in her thoughts. Why do I still feel this way? Why is it hard to be happy? These questions echoed in her mind, leaving her feeling desperate for answers. She wanted to heal, but each day felt like climbing a steep hill. One afternoon, as she sat near her window, Naomi saw a friend from the neighborhood walking by. The friend looked so bright and happy. This made Naomi think about her own struggles. With a deep breath, she sent a message. "Can we talk?" To her surprise, her friend came over right away. When they sat down, Naomi felt her heart race again. She knew she needed to share her feelings, but fear held her back. Slowly, she opened up about her doubts and worries. This was hard for her, but once she began, the words flowed. She described her experiences with art, social media, and the moments of pain behind the smiles. As she spoke, she felt lighter. Her friend listened carefully, and that made Naomi feel supported. "You're not alone," her friend said softly, giving her hope. Hearing these words touched Naomi deeply. She began to understand that sharing her fears was a step toward healing. After their talk, the thought of exploring more help made sense. Naomi searched online for support. She found a local therapy group focused on mindfulness and mental health. She was nervous but decided to sign up. Seeing a therapist felt like a big step, but she needed guidance to face her feelings. When Naomi walked into the group for the first time, her hands shook. She sat down, completely unsure what to expect. Other people were there, sharing their stories. Some smiled, while others looked sad. But they all wanted to heal like she did. This made Naomi feel connected. Moments later, the leader encouraged everyone to try meditation together. They closed their eyes and focused on their breaths. "Breathe in calm, breathe out stress," she said. As they practiced mindfulness, Naomi felt her worries fade away. It was as if a wave of peace washed over her. At that moment, she realized she could take control of her feelings. Guided by the leader's calm voice, Naomi learned that her emotions were real and valid. She started to understand more about herself. Over the next few weeks, she attended the sessions regularly. Little by little, she began to see changes in her life. She learned simple techniques for daily self-care. Putting aside time to breathe and reflect felt good. Meditation became a new friend for her stressed mind. Naomi also began a small morning routine where she wrote down one good thing about herself each day. Though it was not always easy, even a few comforting words helped lift her spirit. As she explored these new practices, she began to feel hope again. While the shadow of anxiety still lingered, she was becoming stronger. Naomi was ready to face the uncomfortable truths about her mental health. The journey ahead would be filled with ups and downs, but she had finally found the light within herself that shone with courage and determination. Each step on this path brought her closer to healing. Naomi felt the warmth of hope as she embraced her new journey. However, change is often a slow process. As days turned into weeks, she began to try different emotional management techniques. Journaling was one of the first things she explored. Each night, she picked up her notebook and started to write. At first, it felt strange. The blank pages stared at her, challenging her to express her thoughts. What should I write? Naomi thought. Some nights she wrote about joy. Other nights she poured out her sadness and fears. Today was hard. She would begin, letting the words flow. But some days, the pages remained blank. Naomi often felt stuck, as if her emotions were too big to handle. Doubts crept in. Will this really help? Am I wasting my time? Despite these thoughts, she tried to remind herself that each word mattered. At the same time, Naomi practiced mindfulness. She created a little routine every morning. After waking up, she would sit quietly in her room and breathe deeply. Inhale calm, exhale stress, she used to repeat to herself. Yet, she noticed that her mind often wandered. Instead of focusing on her breath, thoughts about her art and fears would sneak in. She would find herself worried about what others thought of her creativity. Am I good enough? That doubt still clung to her. Naomi began to realize that emotional regulation took practice. The journey wasn't easy. Some days she felt hopeful, other days she fell back into old patterns. After attending therapy sessions, Naomi left with a sense of determination, but often frustration followed her home. How could she let go of negativity? Would she ever find freedom from the pressures of social media? One afternoon, as she studied her journal, sadness washed over her. She was filled with uncertainty. This is too hard. Will I ever feel all right? Suddenly, tears filled her eyes. These moments of despair were part of her journey, but they felt heavy. It was then she understood that her path to emotional intelligence was not just about feeling good. It was a mix of overcoming challenges and facing real feelings. With a deep breath, she decided to reach out for support again. Naomi called her friend from the neighborhood. Can we talk? She asked. Talking felt good, and the words poured out. Her friend listened and comforted her. It's okay to have hard days, Naomi. This is a journey, her friend reminded her. Hearing this was like a soothing balm for Naomi's heart. Encouraged, she decided to keep working on herself. Even if some days felt heavy, Naomi promised herself she would not give up. Journaling would still be a friend, even on tough days. She understood now that growth would not happen all at once. Each word written could help her find clarity. Each breath during mindfulness could feel empowering. The pursuit of emotional intelligence wasn't a straight line. It was filled with ups and downs. As she accepted this truth, her heart began to calm. Naomi realized that her story didn't end with doubt and pain, it could begin anew with hope. She needed to be patient with herself and keep going. Although the path was unclear, she felt a spark of strength. She was willing to keep experimenting, keep learning, and above all, never give up on herself or her dreams. Naomi's journey brought her to a critical point, one that would test her strength and spirit. She had faced many challenges before, but this moment felt different. One evening, sitting alone in her room, she checked her social media as she often did. That feeling of excitement turned quickly into dread. Looking at the perfect photos of others, light and happiness filled their lives. Everyone seemed so carefree. At that moment, Naomi felt a wave of sadness crash over her. Why can't I be like them? This question twisted in her mind like a heavy knot. As she scrolled, those old thoughts resurfaced, the harsh voices from her past whispering that she was not good enough. Memories played in her mind like a film on repeat. Times of criticism and moments filled with fear rushed back. You can't do this, they said. The criticism Naomi once heard echoed loudly now, creating a storm of self-doubt. Why do I keep hiding? What if I cannot change? Tears brimmed in her eyes, revealing her pain. In that moment, Naomi could feel the weight of her choices pressing down on her chest. She faced her most significant internal conflict yet. Should she give in to the fear inside her? Should she retreat to the safety of her old habits? Or would she choose to stand strong and trust in her journey of healing? The feeling inside her was overwhelming. Emotions surged. The struggle between wanting to be seen and the fear of revealing her true self became a battle in her heart. As Naomi sat there, lost in doubt, she heard a familiar voice inside her. You are more than what they say. You have worth. Those words resonated deep within. Could she believe them? She thought of her journaling, the mindfulness practices, and the support from friends. These tools were not just things she did, they were parts of her new self. Decision point after decision point flooded her mind. She could either let the past shape her future or break free from its chains. It was at that moment Naomi decided she wanted to embrace her truth. She wanted to feel deeply, even if it terrified her. She needed to leave behind the hold that social media and those negative comments had on her. Adjusting her breath, she closed her eyes and took a moment. I choose to grow. I choose to heal. But the journey would not be easy. The thought of failure lingered like a dark cloud in her heart. What if she posted something new and nobody liked it? What if she stumbled and felt lost again? Gritting her teeth, Naomi envisioned negative thoughts like ghosts hovering over her. They could only haunt her if she let them. With a calm determination, she reminded herself of the strength she had discovered over the past weeks. Naomi knew she was ready to confront her wounds. She closed her eyes once more and pictured a bright light surrounding her, pushing the fear away. Her history did not define her, she could start anew. Slowly, with every breath, she felt stronger. She stood up and picked up her paintbrush. It was time to create something new, art that spoke of her journey. It was time to show the world her true self without fear. Naomi could learn to love herself and trust in her own voice. The power was within her to break free from the shadows of the past. And in that very moment, with conviction in her heart, she chose to embrace her beautiful journey toward healing and self-acceptance. The challenge ahead felt daunting, but now, instead of seeing it as a burden, she saw it as her opportunity for growth. This was the turning point Naomi had been waiting for. She was ready to share her truth and show the world who she really was. Naomi had found her strength, but the real test was still ahead. The day arrived for an important presentation at work. She would show her latest artwork to the team. The pressure to perform weighed heavily on her. As she prepared, uncertainty crept in again. What if they don't like it? What if I fail? These thoughts rushed through her mind, stirring up that familiar wave of anxiety. She took a deep breath, remembering her promise to herself. When she walked into the room and saw her colleagues, the tension grew. Her heart raced as she heard whispers. A few people were looking at their phones, while others chatted among themselves. Naomi's mind was spinning. Do they care? Will I be judged? She felt on the edge of a meltdown. Flashbacks of all her insecurities flickered in her mind, but this time, she decided to apply what she had learned. Taking another deep breath, Naomi reminded herself to use self-regulation. She felt the rising tide of panic and focused on her breathing. Inhale calm, exhale stress, she repeated silently. This helped her feel a little more grounded. When it was time to present, she stood up straight. Even though her hands shook, she felt a new sense of resolve. Calmly, she began to speak. As Naomi shared her art piece, she noticed one colleague looking critical. He frowned and crossed his arms. The familiar feeling of discomfort started to rise within her. Instead of letting anger take over or shutting down, she practiced empathy. Maybe he is having a bad day, she thought. Or maybe he is afraid of change. Understanding his feelings helped her ease her own rising tension. She fought against the instinct to react defensively. Instead, Naomi chose to listen and keep an open heart. Once she finished, Naomi opened the floor for questions. This was both terrifying and freeing. A silence fell over the room until the same critical colleague spoke up. I think your work is too whimsical. It lacks depth, he said sharply. Naomi felt the sting of his words. Doubt crept back in again, and she could feel tears welling up. The room felt smaller, and she sensed her previous emptiness returning. But Naomi remembered her commitment to change. She took a deep breath, reassuring herself. This is a chance to use my voice calmly. Instead of lashing out or shrinking away, she replied, I appreciate your feedback. Can you share what you feel could bring more depth to the piece? Her tone was calm, and her heart steady. Seeing her remain composed surprised her colleagues, including the critical one. For the first time, she felt like she could own her emotions. They talked through the feedback, and to her surprise, the discussion became more productive. Others even chimed in, adding their support and new ideas. Naomi started to feel the warmth of their encouragement. In that moment, she learned that her worth wasn't just in pleasing everyone. As the meeting ended, Naomi felt an intense wave of relief. She had faced her doubts but had met them with courage. The situation had not led to a meltdown but instead uncovered a connection with her colleagues. Still, the path to healing would take time. Though self-doubt reappeared, moments like this fed her self-belief. She understood that emotional intelligence was about small steps, too. In this pivotal moment, Naomi became stronger, discovering that her voice mattered and her emotions could guide her. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by external validation, she began to carve her own path toward joy in art and life. Today was a challenge past, and with that, hope ignited once more. After the meeting, Naomi felt a burst of energy take over her. She had faced the storm of criticism, and instead of falling apart, she had risen stronger. The feelings of doubt that normally made her freeze vanished in the face of her growth. Encouragement poured in from her colleagues, and their smiles lit up the room. Naomi realized that her ability to handle a challenging situation had changed. It was clear to her that she was putting emotional intelligence into action. As she walked away from the meeting, a warm sensation filled her heart. She didn't need everyone to love her art. What mattered was her effort and how she felt about it. This was a pivotal moment for Naomi. With each step, she understood that emotional challenges were part of life, not a reason to hide. Her journey inside felt like twisting paths growing clearer. Everyone faced criticism, but how they handled it was where real strength lay. Naomi spotted her reflection in a glass door, and she smiled at herself. The girl staring back was strong and learning. This was a moment to cherish, a moment where she could feel proud. Returning to her desk, Naomi saw her unfinished painting. Bright colors stared back at her. In the past, she would have felt overwhelmed and worried about what others thought. Now, she picked up her brush and started painting without fear. Each stroke conveyed her emotions. Every choice reflected her heart. Naomi understood now that this was the core of her creativity. Suddenly, she decided to share her work again on social media. This time was different. She felt excited rather than anxious. Naomi crafted her post carefully, expressing her thoughts and feelings openly. She decided to explain the inspiration behind the piece and the journey she experienced while creating it. It's okay to grow and change, she wrote. Every comment helps me see my work in new ways. This was her message of strength. As the hearts and comments started to pour in, she felt something new, a sense of freedom. Naomi was no longer tied to the approval of others. The positive feedback was lovely, but the real joy was in her expression. She was starting to accept herself. After sending the post, she took time to meditate, feeling grateful for the strength she had discovered. It was a quiet celebration of her progress. Naomi's heart swelled as she read supportive messages from friends and new followers. They shared how her art inspired them. Her initial fears about sharing had transformed into connections with others who understood her journey. At that moment, she recognized a beautiful truth. By embracing vulnerability, she inspired others to be brave too. This new way of thinking shifted everything for Naomi. She understood that emotional intelligence was not just learning, it was living. It was about being kind to herself, knowing the worth she carried inside. With each challenge she had faced, Naomi realized she had grown from it. Emotional intelligence now flowed through her. The stormy feelings of the past couldn't pull her down anymore. Naomi radiated warmth and hope. The way forward felt bright and inviting. In this moment, she experienced true growth. The path of emotional healing was no longer filled with fear, it was alive with colors and possibilities. Naomi faced her world with a heart full of courage, ready to embrace whatever came next in her journey. This was the beginning of something great for her, a moment to remember. She was not just surviving, she was thriving. Following action. After the moment of realization, Naomi set a firm decision to heal. It was time to take charge of her emotional well-being. She made a plan to slowly put her learning into action. The first step was integrating meditation into her daily routine. Every morning, Naomi sat quietly in her room and started with just 5 minutes of focused breathing. She felt much calmer after these moments. With each deep breath, she found a small space of peace before the busy day began. This simple act slowly transformed her mornings from chaotic to serene. Journaling was another technique she embraced fully. Each evening, she would find a cozy corner in her home and write down her thoughts and feelings. Naomi included both positive moments and even struggles. She soon realized how healthy it was to express herself this way. Documenting her journey helped her see improvements in her emotional state. "Today I managed to stay calm during a tough moment, and I'm proud," she wrote one night. These snippets were more than words. They were powerful reminders of her progress. As days turned into weeks, Naomi began to notice her worth growing stronger. Those old shadows of self-doubt started to fade away. She set small goals like completing paintings and sharing them independently. While social media remained challenging at times, she practiced detoxing from it. Naomi began to limit her time on platforms. Instead of scrolling for hours, she spent more energy on real-life activities that fed her spirit. She read books and went for walks, finding comfort in nature. One sunny afternoon, Naomi attended a community art fair. Setting up her own booth filled her with excitement. In the past, she might have felt anxious about what others would think, but now she was ready. Instead of seeking approval from everyone, she focused on sharing her art honestly. Friends and family gathered to support her. She felt their warmth, reinforcing how loved she was. Whenever someone admired her work, Naomi smiled and thanked them sincerely. It felt wonderful to connect with people through her labor of love. During the fair, Naomi met other artists. One artist shared similar struggles with anxiety and self-doubt. They exchanged stories and laughter, showing Naomi that she was not alone on her journey. Together, they discussed how their experiences shaped their creations. In this interaction, Naomi noticed something new blooming inside. The comparisons and anxious worries had started to fade, replaced with a sense of camaraderie instead. Through these small but vibrant triumphs, Naomi learned to set healthy emotional boundaries. She realized it was okay to say no sometimes. If social engagements felt too exhausting, she allowed herself time to rest and recharge. This newfound understanding of her needs made her feel empowered. Naomi recognized she held the power to shape her own emotional landscape, with kindness instead of judgment. Every time she navigated a difficult moment, Naomi discovered she had tools to lean on. The techniques she learned in therapy and through mindfulness practices became sources of strength. Whenever doubt tried to creep in, she simply paused and recalled the growth she achieved. Naomi found that her past did not define her future. She was the artist of her own masterpiece. The focus was no longer on others' judgments, but on living authentically and loving herself fully. With each passing day, Naomi stepped closer to her true self. Hope blossomed within her heart as she embraced her journey toward emotional freedom. She could see that every step mattered, no matter how small. And as her steady progress unfolded, Naomi inspired herself, turning inward to celebrate the beauty of healing. She found joy in each moment, gaining confidence and wisdom along the way. The days rolled on, and Naomi's transformation unfolded like a gentle flower blooming in spring. She started to see the importance of regular therapy sessions. Each week, she would sit in her therapist's warm, inviting office, unpacking the feelings and worries that once felt too heavy to carry. At first, opening up was challenging, but slowly, the process brought out new insights. Naomi felt supported, knowing she was not alone on her journey. Each session planted seeds of healing deep within her heart, helping her grow stronger. With her therapist's help, Naomi learned to establish meaningful emotional boundaries. This idea had been new to her, but it became clear that saying no was a powerful way to care for herself. Whenever she felt overwhelmed, she would remind herself that it was acceptable to put her needs first. This newfound strength to protect her emotional energy made her feel proud and empowered. She discovered freedom in declining invitations when she needed time for herself, sensing how important this practice was in restoring her balance. Journaling remained a close friend on Naomi's path. Each night she reflected on her day in her journal. Not only did she write about her accomplishments, but she also noted her challenges and fears. It was a process that allowed her to confront and understand her feelings fully. One evening, as she poured out her thoughts, she realized that her entries exhibited a shift. Rather than negative self-talk, she began to weave in positive affirmations, nurturing her self-esteem. "I am growing stronger every day," she wrote. This simple reminder became a source of empowerment for her. Naomi also dedicated time each day to mindfulness practices, which made her feel centered and present. Every morning, she would sit quietly and tune into her breath. Focusing only on inhaling and exhaling, she discovered a calm amidst life's chaos. These moments helped reduce her anxiety and build emotional stability. Whenever she faced worry or fear, she used each mindful breath as an anchor. Naomi understood the significance of being in the moment instead of getting lost in the past or future. As she continued to detox from social media, Naomi began to notice profound changes in her sense of self. The decision to limit her online presence gave her more space to grow. Instead of wasting time scrolling through feeds filled with others' lives, she invested that energy in her own. Naomi explored hobbies like painting, walking in nature, and cooking new recipes. Simple pleasures replaced the need for external validation. These activities filled her heart with joy and creativity, helping her rediscover passions she had forgotten. With each passing week, Naomi experienced incremental successes. Her self-esteem began to rise, and the anxiety that once ruled her life slowly faded away. She started speaking up for herself more often, feeling confident in her voice. The change was tangible. Naomi felt good about who she was. Each milestone she reached became a powerful part of her story. She understood that emotional well-being takes time and effort, but that the path she chose, with each step, was worth every moment. Tracking her transformation, Naomi felt a sense of urgency within her story. As she continued forward, she knew this journey was not just for herself, it was also to inspire others. By sharing her journey, she hoped to show everyone that it was possible to break free from the chains of self-doubt and negativity. She felt ready to embrace life head-on and to encourage those around her. Naomi had become a shining example of resilience, reminding herself and others that every small step could be a monumental leap toward true emotional freedom. With this realization, Naomi carried a confident heart, transforming her mindset with hope and joy. As the seasons changed, so did Naomi's life. The warmth of spring brought a sense of renewal, both outside and within her heart. She embraced the lessons she had learned on her journey to find true happiness. Each day was like a fresh canvas, waiting for her to create something beautiful. Naomi recognized that she had reached a new equilibrium, one filled with healthier habits and authentic connections. No longer did she depend on social media for approval. Instead, she found confidence in herself and the talents she displayed. With every stroke of her paintbrush, Naomi expressed her emotions freely. Her art told stories of healing, love, and resilience. She started holding small art shows in her community. The events felt joyous and welcoming, allowing her to connect with others who valued personal journeys. People were drawn to her creations, and she cherished the laughter and warmth in those moments. The support from friends and newfound connections made her feel more alive than ever. Naomi's understanding of psychological wellness bulked up significantly. She learned that self-love was more than a phrase, it became a core part of her daily routine. Recognizing her worth allowed her to raise her voice and own her feelings. Recalling her earlier struggles, she chuckled softly. It amazed her how far she had come, climbing out from a dark place to a life filled with color and light. Inside, Naomi felt a strong sense of compassion for herself. She understood that everyone faced challenges, and that gave her hope for herself and others. The proactive approach she took to nurture her mental health became her strength. Therapy, journaling, and mindfulness were not just tasks, they had woven together a beautiful tapestry of self-discovery. She continued her sessions with her therapist, acknowledging that taking care of one's emotional well-being was a lifelong journey. Each meeting offered Naomi more tools to navigate life's ups and downs. Rather than wallowing in despair during difficult moments, she now had the means to deal with challenges thoughtfully. Though doubts occasionally appeared, they no longer defined her. Naomi acknowledged them as part of her existence but refused to let them shape her like before. Whenever anxiety whispered its worries, she practiced deep breathing. Instead of allowing it to take control, she reminded herself of the progress she made and the skills she developed. This practice became her shield against negativity. With compassion, she nudged herself forward, understanding that ups and downs were simply pieces of life. Embracing internal validation brought immense peace. Naomi learned to appreciate herself, honoring her emotions without needing constant outside affirmation. The joy she felt from within blossomed even brighter. It became clear that her mental state was her responsibility. This realization was empowering, taking her on a path of growth, not just for herself but for those around her. As Naomi shared her journey with friends, she inspired others to start their journeys too. Happiness is not a final destination, she thought, it was an ongoing adventure. With her heart full of hope, she invited people to reflect on their own lives. She spoke candidly about the significance of health, both physical and mental. Naomi opened doors for conversations about feelings, making each discussion warm and comforting. In the end, Naomi had become her own guide, creating a life that echoed with authenticity. She discovered that inner peace is attainable, and that all of us possess the journey toward healing and self-acceptance. Standing tall, she felt ready to embrace the challenges life threw her way with strength and love. Through her transformation, Naomi had unlocked the gift of self-understanding. The world awaited, and she was prepared to paint her destiny, journeying onward to many more colorful chapters ahead. With the warmth of spring nurturing her soul, Naomi fully embraced her transformation. Each day, she stepped into her life with confidence. Gone were the days of seeking approval from outside sources. She had come to understand that true worth emanated from within. With every decision she made, she felt more aligned with her authentic self. Naomi consciously chose paths that honored her well-being and supported her journey toward mental wellness. In her drawing and community art activities, Naomi prioritized health and happiness over perfection. She set realistic goals for herself, pushing her creative boundaries while enjoying the process. Art should bring joy, not stress, she often told herself. This mindset shift allowed her to create more freely. She realized that the finished piece was not as important as the feelings she poured into it. It was here, in the act of creation, that she truly found peace. Building healthier relationships played a crucial role in Naomi's new life. Her connections with friends strengthened as they shared mutual support. Together, they celebrated each other's victories, big and small. They talked about feelings openly, knowing they were not alone in their struggles. These friendships gradually evolved into meaningful bonds. They lifted each other up through laughter and tears. Naomi felt grateful for the space created where empathy flowed freely. Recognizing the limits of her capacity was another defining aspect of her journey. Naomi learned to say no when necessary, and that saying it did not lead to guilt or sadness. In fact, she found that it opened up opportunities for rest. This balance allowed her to be more present in her interactions, both with friends and family. They began to notice her serene spirit and unwavering presence. Naomi's newfound peace often encouraged others to reflect on their emotional needs as well. Naomi also remained diligent in her practice of routine mental wellness techniques. She developed a habit of morning meditation that sustained her emotional strength. Taking time to breathe deeply each day created a calm baseline for her reactions to daily life's challenges. Journaling continued to serve as her reflective space, where she emptied her heart onto the pages each evening. Here, she openly wrote about challenges she faced, yet she always ended with affirmations that celebrated her strength. These routines became essential parts of her day, yet they felt natural and manageable. She acknowledged that mental wellness required continuous effort, recognizing that it was not a destination. Growth and healing would need attention, patience, and loving awareness as she ventured through life. Naomi armed herself with emotional tools from her experiences. Moments of vulnerability became lessons, and setbacks were no longer failures, but opportunities to learn. She decided to walk through difficulties with grace, wielding compassion toward herself and others. As Naomi looked at her reflection, she saw more than an artist. She saw a resilient woman with a full heart. The challenges of tomorrow might come, but she was equipped to meet each one. With newfound courage, Naomi realized she could face anything with the love she carried within. This was not just her story anymore. It was an invitation for others to honor their journeys and emotions. With each passing day, Naomi encouraged herself and those around her to take small but significant steps toward inner peace. "You can do it too!" she would cheer, as if talking to a dear friend. Embracing challenges with open arms led to strength, understanding, and love. Naomi had transformed her mindset, discovering the power of resilience would carry her far. Now, she was equipped to navigate the beautiful adventure that awaited her while staying true to herself. This was just the beginning of a life rich with possibility, painted in colors of joy, love, and emotional balance.